All right, today we are diving into a truly staggering white paper. It proposes a complete, ground-up rebuild of how we think about and construct machine intelligence. It's officially called the Semiotic Web, but you'll also hear it called by its code name, the Falcon Architecture. And let me tell you, this isn't just some minor update, it's a monumental idea that could fundamentally change the technology you use every single day.
So to really get why this is such a big deal, let's start with a problem that I'm sure we've all run into. You ask an AI a question, and it gives you an answer with this chilling confidence, but the answer is completely and totally made up, right? It invents legal cases, it fabricates scientific studies, it just lies. This whole thing, we call it hallucination, and it's the jumping off point for our entire explainer today. But what if I told you that the entire tech industry's approach to fixing this problem is completely backward? You see, to understand the solution that the Falcon architecture is proposing, we have to first correctly diagnose the real disease that's plaguing all of our current AIs.
And the paper's core argument is this: hallucinations are not the disease. They are just a symptom. Think of it like a medical analogy they use. The hallucinations are like a rash. And if you have a severe systemic infection coursing through your body, spending billions of dollars on a fancy ointment for the rash on your arm is completely missing the point. The patient is still dying.
The paper argues that the real disease, the deep architectural flaw, is something called open-loop next-token guessing. A current AI doesn't actually know anything. It's a pattern-matching machine. It just calculates the statistical probability of which word should come next to sound plausible. There's no mechanism for it to pause and check if its guess actually connects to anything real in the world.
And this slide just nails the difference. A current AI, it's like a blind cannon. You light to fuse with your prompt, and it just fires a volley of words based on statistical trajectories. It never checks its flight path, it just hopes the shot lands somewhere near the truth. Now, a closed-loop system, like a simple thermostat in your house, is fundamentally different. It checks reality. What's the temperature? It acts, turns on the heat, and then it checks reality again to see if its action worked. It is constantly, and I mean constantly, grounded in reality.
Okay, so why can't we just fix the blind cannon? Well, the paper brings up this idea from way back in 1827, Gauss's remarkable theorem, to prove it's actually a mathematical impossibility. Imagine an AI's knowledge is a curved bowling ball, and all the safety rules we try to apply are a flat sheet of paper. Your job is to wrap that paper perfectly around the ball. You can't do it. It will always wrinkle or tear. That strain, that tearing, is what pops up as hallucinations. The problem isn't the rules, it's the geometry of the space itself.
So if you can't fix the curved space, you have to escape it. And this brings us to the Falcon architecture's truly radical solution, building an entirely new foundation from scratch. This escape route begins with a brand new atomic unit of meaning called the token. This is the foundational building block of the entire system. It's a cryptographically verified piece of information that creates a knowledge space that is, for all intents and purposes, intrinsically flat. Think of it like a perfect, infinite grid where rules can be applied without any of that distortion or wrinkling we just talked about. It solves the geometry problem.
So how does it manage to create this flatness? Well, it does something brilliant. It translates a 150-year-old philosophical concept, Peirce's triad of meaning, directly into modern cryptography. Let's break it down. First, the abstract symbol. That becomes the CCI, a unique crypto address for any concept. Think of it like a permanent, unforgeable social security number for an idea. Second, the real-world object. That becomes the CTI, which is a verified fact grounded in reality. And third, the interpretation. That becomes provenance, an unbreakable, auditable trail showing you exactly where that piece of data came from.
Okay, so with this new building block, this token, we can now build an entirely new kind of structure. And this isn't just about storing information in a different way. This is about creating an architecture that is fundamentally designed for knowing, not for guessing.
And just look at the practical differences here. They are absolutely staggering. A current AI model in a giant data center is burning around 100 kilowatts of power. The Falcon architecture, it can run on a small server, maybe even your phone, using about 1 watt. But honestly, the most important difference is that last one, refusal. A current AI has to guess when to say, I don't know. The Falcon architecture comes to a structural halt. If it cannot find a verified fact using its cryptographic lookup, it physically cannot proceed. It's not a guess, it's a hard stop. This system organizes all this information into what it calls a holonic federation, an idea inspired by the work of Arthur Koestler. The easiest way to think about it is like nested Russian dolls. At the very center, you have your private portal, where you have absolute control and sovereignty over your own data. That can then connect to a shared system for, say, your company or your team. And both of those can contribute to the comprehensive cloud, which becomes this global consensus of verified knowledge.
Now, this distributed structure allows for something called polycomputing. And the analogy here is wild. It's inspired by the biology of flatworms, which, can regenerate even if you cut their heads off. Your phone can act like one of those autonomous cells. It can solve really complex problems locally just by verifying these cryptographic hashes, which means it works incredibly efficiently without always needing to call home to some giant, centralized brain in a data center.
This massive change in the mechanics leads to a really profound change in philosophy. The architecture basically forces us to redefine what intelligence itself actually is.
And this is where the code name, the Falcon architecture, comes from. A peregrine falcon isn't intelligent because it has a huge encyclopedia of the forest stored in its brain. No way. It's intelligent because of its incredibly tight 1-watt feedback loop. It's constantly predicting, checking reality, and correcting its dive. So intelligence isn't a static thing you own, it's a verified flow. It's the speed at which you can close the gap between your prediction and what's actually real.
And this flow follows a 6-step process called the agapistic cycle. It starts by detecting a gap in what it knows. Then it comes up with some potential concepts and composes a fluent answer. But here's the crucial part. Step 4, empathy. This is where it grounds that potential answer in reality with a cryptographic hash lookup. Only after that verification does it select the best option and then update the whole network. It's just a constant cycle of course correction. So, let's just take a breath and pull all this together. What we are witnessing here is a fundamental paradigm shift, moving away from a system built on statistical guessing to one that is built on deterministic knowing. What's so powerful about this paper is that it's not just inventing some brand new theory out of thin air. It's more like it's completing a construction project. It meticulously shows how this architecture is the inevitable convergence of 17 different intellectual traditions, discovered over 150 years. It weaves together Einstein's physics, Peirce's philosophy, modern cryptography, even the biology of flatworms, into a single deployable system.
So the crucial point, the big takeaway here, is this monumental shift. We are moving from a curved guessing space to a flat knowing space. We're getting rid of the blind cannon and replacing it with a reality-checking feedback loop. We're shifting from a single, centralized brain to a decentralized federation. We are moving fundamentally from an architecture of guessing to an architecture of knowing.
And I want to leave you with a new lens, a new way to look at all of your technology. The next time you open an app on your phone, ask yourself this one simple but now I think deeply meaningful question. Is this piece of software serving me a statistical guess based on old text, or is it a verified flow connected to reality? The answer could change absolutely everything.